Hello and welcome to the Invictus Racing League, the F3 League. Tonight we are at round 11, the Silverstone circuit for the British Grand Prix with the second to last race of the season. I'm Harry, and of course alongside me, as always on a Wednesday night, I have my good friend Charlie. Charlie, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. It's good to be here again. Obviously we missed out last week, but it's a great circuit that I love to watch and race in, so yeah, it should be good tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely a circuit where, of course, a little bit of rain as well could definitely be thrown into the mix for these guys tonight. It's a great circuit for battling. Of course, DRS can certainly make it just even better. It can be quite difficult to try and pull away from the cars behind you, and can be very easy to keep with the cars in front of you. So we should see some good battles tonight. Of course, as you're saying, it didn't quite manage to start off round 11 last week. Of course, we was scheduled to do the British Grand Prix last week, and it was supposed to be the Monaco Grand Prix tonight, but due to circumstances of PSM, we wasn't bring that to you last week. So sincere apologies for that, but it does at least give us a chance to extend the season just a little bit. And I suppose a bit of a mixed reaction, I suppose, if you're perhaps Craig or Luke Bailey, because you've got an extra week to practice. I suppose at this game, a lot of people probably maybe just lacking a little bit of motivation when you've sort of got, late game sort of fatigue, should we say, in terms of, your willingness to play it. So perhaps, do you reckon it'd be a good thing for the top two, or do you think it could be just a little bit dragged out for them tonight?
It could have a bit of a mixed effect. You don't know. I mean, I don't know what each driver are thinking, but exactly as you say, it could be a bit of a drag for them. Maybe they just wanted to get it out of the way and done last week, this race, and just focus on the last race this week, but it's not been the case. So yeah, again, they've had an extra week to prepare, so hopefully they have been practicing and they've improved their chances.
And of course, we come into this race with a chance of Craig taking the championship tonight. A race early, he currently sits top of the standings on 91 points. He's got 20 points clear of Luke Bailey. If he comes into Monaco with more than 16 points ahead of the Brits, then he will officially be crowned the champion tonight. And of course, the pre-race championship permutations are effectively as follows. Craig, to win the title, needs to win the race. He can come second with the fastest lap. He just needs to finish ahead of Luke Bailey, or just not lose more than 3 points to Luke Bailey tonight. And of course, Luke Bailey not scoring would effectively ends the championship this evening as well. And I think Luke Bailey, one of the first cars out on the circuit, so perhaps it's gone out immediately on the soft tyres, which of course this is, if it is dry, Charlie, we should see these guys go soft to medium. Could be interesting to see if they go for the balanced allocation or the soft allocation. Of course, the balance gives you that one set of mediums, but it looks like Luke Bailey first out, he wants to set a bank of the lap early and maybe put a little bit more pressure on Craig.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of time here getting in and out of the pit, so they want to get out early to make sure they definitely get those 3 runs in, possibly even 4 if they have gone for that softer tyre allocation. So yeah, it's good to get out there early, and Luke Bailey's done that, and he needs to just get on with it and lay a marker down for Craig.
And of course, I have interviews with the drivers, we'll see, coming in into last week. We were speaking to a lot of them, and I've got spoken to Luke, and he sort of admits that he's not been the fastest. Of course, he's currently sat second in the championship, and I think something Craig would particularly say as well. And we said many times over the season, Charlie, it's not so much their raw speed. They have been very quick and very competitive on every circuit, but not necessarily always the quickest. But he says he's been very consistent. He's done very well staying out of trouble. But he does admit it is going to be very unlikely that he can win this championship tonight.
Yeah, as you say, they have kept out of trouble, but he's just had a couple of more incidents lately, Luke, hasn't he, than Craig. Also, he's been involved with incidents with Craig, which have really cost him and put this gap to quite a big, made the gap quite big coming into these final 2 races. So yeah, he's at a bit of a disadvantage, but anything can happen. There's still 2 races left and a fair few points on the table.
Yeah, sadly, of course, after the DNF coming into contact with Craig in the Singapore race a couple of weeks ago now, of course, that did sort of, I mean, Craig is a very harsh critic on himself, and he takes a real pride in his cleanness and, of course, his racecraft. He actually put himself, he forward himself into reported himself effectively to the steward's office, so I think he dropped a couple of points there with a penalty, because he was very critical on himself there, of course not wanting the way to do it, or ending the race the way he would like to. But one person who has certainly done very well last 3 races is Gio, of course winning the Italian Grand Prix, got a podium in Canada and a fourth place in Singapore. So Luke Bailey looks like he's just invalidated on this first lap. We're going right on board with the championship leader Craig, who's just about to round out this first sector, of course into the left-hander out of turn 5, and they're going to be flicking open DRS. Quite a difficult corner to try and get the power down. It's not too bad usually on these low fuel, but it's comparable in that first sector. To see what we can do. Sure, we have some people setting in flying laps now. I think that might be Luke Bailey on the mini map there, just peeling into the pit lane, as of course now coming around long right long corner through Luffield, and of course coming back down the old home straight. Of course now Tennis now with a 27.9 on those medium tyres. That's a provisional part of Stephen with a 30.9 as well, and Wojtek also the second Haas 29.1. They want to go a little bit quicker than that, I'm sure. Now through Maggots and Beckett's with Craig, and of course onto Chapel, and down the Hanger Straight. It was such an iconic sequence of corners this, and it's really a driver's favourite on the calendar. Real driver circuit this one, particularly the old layout, as JSP goes with 27.5, but you'd think Craig he'd really want to get quite firmly into the low 27s, you think, or mid 27s, really want to be up there ahead of the medium runners as a good banker.
Yeah, he definitely will be. I was riding on board with JSP actually. That was a really neat lap from himself, sitting in pole position at the moment. I'm sure there will be more time to come from other drivers, but yeah, that was a pretty neat lap, so that's a good banker lap for JSP, and he'll want to get out there and improve on that as well.
And we just watched the Red Bull Night go rounding out the final couple of corners, and goes across the line with a 29.1, pushing a provisional 8th, and I think we'll just see Brennan's as well taking a lap there, putting himself P10. As Sab looks like he's retired. It looks like he might have perhaps either just retired on track, or he might have lost it, potentially coming just past the pit lane. Not too sure, out of Vale maybe, or out of Stowe. I'm not quite sure what happened to him there, because he hasn't got a lap time on the board.
His car is over in the wall, so it's looking like he's lost it. I'm not sure how he's lost it there, but yeah, his car is looking like it's over in the wall, so I think it must have been a crash, unfortunately for Sab.
And Simon Palmer also going up into Prix where they're with 27.8, so he's got himself a decent banker lap as well. But JSP, of course, after his win on his return to the F3 League, and of course joined halfway through the season, of course picking up a very unlikely win in Singapore. So we just watched Gareth go through the Maggots and Beckett's, and now also coming out of the Chapel onto the Hanger Straight. Of course he was on those medium tyres, so he wanted to get himself fairly high up. Might even try and take a little sneaky toe off the runner of Craig there, as they now come around Stone. Of course you can be quite cheeky with the track limits around there, as he's clearly not going quick enough for his luck, and he's going to come into the pit lane. So we'll just try and have a flick on with someone else. Looks like Luke Bailey's already back out, and he's about to start another flying lap as well. So Stephen also retiring. I was not sure if it looks like he's lost it, coming up to Maggots and Beckett. So it looks like this track already beginning to catch a couple of people out.
Yeah, he's come through cops, and it looked like he's lost it. I was just right on board with Spud, who came through there, and you could see how Stevens Williams over in the wall. So yeah, another victim. It's they're fast corners here, and the slightest movement of your car, as soon as that car becomes loose, it can become very difficult to control. So maybe it's just a couple of drivers becoming a victim of that.
So let's see what Luke Bailey can do. Of course, he's on another set of soft tyres. If you would expect him to perhaps go with the soft allocation, maybe, as points out, could go over the balance. So you'd think you'd want to get over a strong bank lap on this second set. Of course, want to try and put pressure on Craig. Craig's doing a very nicely job sitting in P2 right now. He's currently in the pit lane, probably just changing tyres, and I'm sure he'll be out very, very soon as JSP. He's also got out on another out lap. Quite a few guys sitting in the pit sort of now is kind of the changeover point for a lot of them. Malc as well, currently sat in P18, yet set lap time on the soft tyres. He's about to start his flying lap, so apologies. As we've got another 14 Alfa Romeo of Luke Bailey now, of course, coming into the probably one of the best sequence of corners you could really ask for on the F1 calendar of Maggots and Beckett's. Going to swing it to the left in 5th gear, going to drop it into 4th for the right, but going to upshift a little bit early, just try and kiss the curb on the left hand side, flick open DRS, and of course down the Hanger Straight, and of course going to be looking to brake as late as he can for Stowe. and try and see best lap he can possibly do, try and get himself ahead of his teammate. You want to get himself ahead of his championship rival tonight as well. And of course, now coming into Vale, of course, there's a very, very tight left-hander, and of course you want to be very, very patient and very, very cautious on the throttle. But he's going to try and get the power down best he can. He's going to come around the last corner, goes up into P2, and just a few thousandths off GSP. So a very good lap there from Mick Bailey.
Yeah, that was pretty close. His teammates just come out the pits in front of him, so they could organise a slipstream here for Simon's lap. But yeah, that's a close lap. So again, a good banker from Luke. He invalidated his first run, but he's got that lap in now, so I'm sure he'll be feeling relieved. And crucially, he's ahead of Craig, so that's a good position to start in if he can keep that.
Absolutely, of course. And Simon Palmer saying he's going to do all the best he can to help his teammate tonight, try and keep Craig back. So he's certainly not giving up on the championship hunt, as well as his teammate. So just watch Malc now coming through the last sequence of corners. Yet to get a time on the board. Of course, if he does get a time, whether how slow it is, he will go ahead of Sab, and he goes up into P9, so 28.2. So a very good lap there from the Red Bull driver. Nice bank lap. He's still got 8 minutes and 47 seconds left in the session to come into the pits and go again. So he's got himself a nice bank there, ahead of some very good qualifiers. It looks like JSP is also on a second one. Looks like he's a little bit down on his lap, so we're just going right on the board with Still, see how he's doing. As he's just finishing the first sector, so it's got a little bit of traffic ahead of him. One of the racing points, it must be Jeffries on an outlap. So we just have to hope he gets out of the way sharpest. As it looks like Craig's also just started his second flying lap. So, but right now it's looking very nice for Craig, isn't it? Because he's he's in a bit of an Alfa Romeo sandwich, which is probably the last place you'd want to be. But I'm sure third place would be very pleased with that.
Yeah, he just needs to follow Luke Bailey home tonight. Just sit right behind him, obviously within the point scoring position that he needs to secure that. He can't drop more than 3 points, I believe. But yeah, he just needs to really echo what Luke does on the track and just stick with him as best he can. Interesting, I'm seeing Brennan's just on an outlap on the medium, so he's not gone for the softs yet. Maybe he's gonna do something different to the rest of the field and try the alternative strategy.
Is Jeffries. There's a 27.3, so about a tenth and a half quicker than a Mercedes driver of JSP. So that's a flying lap from the Racing Point driver, and has really put himself in provisional pole with just over 7 minutes left in the session. We know how quick he can be in qualifying. Jeffrey, it's been a real struggle, particularly in the second half of the season for Jeffrey. A lot of DNF in his last 3 races, 5 DNFs in the last 6, so it really hasn't been kind to him. The second half of the season. Looks like Wojtek just popped himself up ahead of Craig. He's hard to put himself into P4, but Craig's about to go and set his second flying lap. So whereabouts can this go? He's going to fly the Renault around the last couple of corners. Going to come across the line. He improves, and he improves by 3 tenths of a second. Puts himself second place, about just over half a tenth behind Jeffrey and ahead of JSP. And suddenly the Luke perhaps again a little bit of pressure back on him now, as he's got to find a little bit more time. Well, he's got to find about just over a tenth of a second.
Yeah, I'm just watching Simon Palmer come over the line. He only improved by a tenth, so that only keeps him in P6, unfortunately. But he'll be wanting to get ahead of Craig if he's going to help his teammate out. So yeah, Craig, good lap up there into P2 as well, as you said. So it's looking good for Craig at the moment.
And F1 Richard kind of across the line, goes up into P5, and really nice respectable lap there from the McLaren driver. And it's not been all his own way in the second half of the season. Of course, picked up that fantastic win in Abu Dhabi of round 2. It feels like a long time ago now, because his luck seemed to have run out immediately after that, effectively. But good result, I think, came home P5 in a manic Singapore Grand Prix. So maybe just looks like his luck is beginning to turn around again. For the last 2 races, he'll certainly be looking to look forward to that. As his teammate Brennan's as well is quite similar. It looked like he was really finding some pace sort of midway through the season, but again, it just looks like his luck just sort of ran out the last few races. But I'm sure he'll be doing his best to try and climb his way back up the order tonight and get himself some good, valuable points from McLaren in the constructors. And in terms of the constructors, we should probably mention Alfa Romeo and Renault, with 2 rounds remaining, are equal on points after the disaster of Alfa Romeo in Singapore, and synchronously picking up a fantastic podium in Singapore. A podium with 5 pit stops, which must be some sort of record, I would imagine, certainly a record of the season. but they picked up 14 points Renault last round, so it does mean they're on 120 points each. So we've got a real championship on our hands, going all the way to Monaco for the Constructors' Trophy. And we'll just watch Brennan's go all the way around Stowe, and of course coming around the last sequence of corners, and he's gonna bail out. He's gonna go into the pit lane, so he's clearly not happy with that.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting in these last two races with the constructors being so close, in closer than the drivers in fact. So it could be a fact that we see the drivers title wrapped up tonight, and the constructors go right down to the wire. So we'll still have something to be looking forward to in Monaco, but it's up to Luke tonight to get ahead of Craig and beat him by the amount of points he needs to take it to Monaco.
And Luke Bailey now just going on, I believe, his third flying lap, so he's probably going to have to make a decision. If he thinks he's up on his time right about now, I'm sure he'll try and finish it, but if he does finish this lap, he's going to be very tight on time to get another one in, so he's going to have to try and fly it around Maggots and Beckett's, and perhaps if he's not quite up on his delta, he might have to come into the pits and just bail on that lap. He's going to have to be, if he is up on his time, he's going to have to try and stick with it. But it's a little bit of a decision to make. He's going to try and fly it around Stowe. Does he use the track limits? Also, he gets a little bit wide as Tinnis picks up a 26.8, half a second faster than Jeffries. An incredible lap out of nowhere from the Haas driver, as Luke Bailey is going to stick with his time. Going to come around the last corner. There's a 27.2, so it goes P2. It would have been a fantastic lap, but Tinnis has found that out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's a great lap by Tinnis for this. The standard in here, I mean that's not far off F1 pace, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's a great lap. Yeah, I don't know where he found that from. He's not normally one of our regular pole position sitters, Tinnis, so that's shocked everyone on the grid, I'm sure, and everyone's now going to be waiting in the pits, getting their setups ready, and going to fly out there and try and beat that. But that is a mammoth task to try and beat that time. That's a great time.
Nearly half a second is the gap between first and second place, just under 3 minutes to go. I think even Tinnis surely would have been a little bit shocked when he saw that flag up purple, and by the distance as well, he's pulled an absolute rabbit out of the hat. And of course with Wojtek sat in P7 as well with a 27.7, so equally a pretty respectable lap time, but he's 9/10 off his teammate. Incredible lap there from Tinnis. He's had a real struggle of a season. It's been real up and down for him. But at least he did see his teammate get a little bit of glory in Singapore. But I'm sure he's looking for glory of his own, as we see still moving up into P4. As it looks like Luke Bailey's going to be on an in-lap. A lot of guys in the pit lane right now, so we're going right on board with Wojtek, who I believe is just about to set his last flying lap, and thankfully for him, he's got out just ahead of the racing point of Jeffrey, so don't have to worry about that traffic. We'll see how much quicker he can go in this first sector. Of course, it's all or nothing now. These guys will not have time to come into the pits, put on a new set of tyres and go again. They're going to have to give it all they can, and of course it is quite easy to invalidate around here. You want to try and fly into a lot of these corners, particularly this corner here. You can really easily cut, because it's quite a late apex, cut a little bit too much, because if you go wide you can sort of really compromise your entrance for Luffield. So you really don't want to be doing that, but it looks like he's kept it pretty tidy through there. Of course, now coming into the old turn one, got a yellow flag somewhere. I think that might be just one of the Renaults getting out of the way from McLaren, as now Wojtek going to try and send it round Maggots and Beckett's. He's just going to flick it to the left. He's going to go 6th gear, so a little bit different to what we've seen other drivers doing. Then 5th gear, as we now come on to the hangar straight. He's got a car to his right hand side. Does he try and use the slipstream? As Luke Bailey retires from the session, so he's either not improving or of course just ran out of time to do another lap. As we look at the bottom there on the 18th position, Captain Stiff on an out lap, yet to set a flying lap, so he's got a lot of pressure on him for this last lap. We'll see what Wojtek can do, as he's just about to come around the last corner now. He's got his teammate to try and beat, and well, he does a very good job of coming close. 27.2, so third place. Where's this pace been from the Haas boys all season?
Yeah, that was another good lap from the Haas of Wojtek. Looked a bit shaky as he came across the line. I wasn't expecting that time to flag up because it looked a bit erratic, but it's worked for him, and he's up there in the top 3. So yeah, it's a good time by Wojtek. And as you say, we've got Captain Stiff out there, and we've got multiple drivers out there now on laps. So let's have a look around and see who's doing what.
Looks like Jeffrey's just about to finish the first sector. We know how good he can be in qualifying. It's not telling me how much how much he is or not up, as we just come through Luffield now. So that one of Haas is just going to get out of the way to the left-hand side. Looks like Craig is also on a lap. Whereabouts is he? He's just behind Jeffrey. In fact, as one of Haas has got to be careful there, because he's parked in quite an odd spot. Don't want to get, after such good qualifying, don't want to get disqualified for a league or blocking or whatnot, which we saw Craig happen. That happened to Craig in Singapore just a couple of weeks ago. Of course, being perhaps too polite and getting out the way in the game, decided to disqualify him for it. As see what Craig can do. He's about to come across the finish line of the second sector, and he's going just about half a tenth quicker, which won't do him the whole world of favours. See, Simon Palmer has improved as well. He's gone up into P5, so he's knocked down Craig another position. Craig using all the track he possibly can around Stowe. He's going to try and hammer it around the last couple of corners. JSP's also about to set a lap. He's just a few car lengths behind him, so we know how quick he can be. And he's going to cross the line, goes P4, so just to be directly behind his championship rivals. We go on board with JSP, who improves by just half a tenth, so doesn't really gain a position, as looks like Malc might also just be about to set a new flying lap. He's currently sat in P12, just about a couple of tenths off the next car. He does improve by 3 tenths of a second, but doesn't gain a position. And Gareth in there as well, pressured last lap, but gets up into P6, so a nice drive from there to get himself onto the third row. You've got to say it's really close, from second down to about 9th from 10th, but one man found about half a second that no one else could.
Yeah, that is an incredible lap from Tennis. In fairness to him, that's blown the field away. And if he has got that pace in the race, I'm sure he'll be long gone up front. But hopefully that's not the case, and we have a close battle for the lead. Craig, I'm sure, will be. I was running on board with Craig throughout his lap. I'm sure he'll be a little bit annoyed with himself. He was setting a purple sector time through sector 1 and was a tenth and a half up, and he just seemed to lose a bit in the middle sector. Clawed a little bit back in the final sector, but it just wasn't enough to pop him right up there. But crucially, he's ahead of that second Alfa Romeo of Simon Palmer, and that means Simon's got some work to do if he wants to be any help to his teammate.
Absolutely. Of course, there is our starting order for the British Grand Prix round 11. Of course, it is Tennis on pole position with an unbelievable lap. I cannot begin to describe where that's been all season. Luke Bailey in P2, I'm sure I'll be happy with that. Wojtek in P3, Craig is P4, Jeffrey P5, Gareth with a last minute gasp to P6 ahead of Simon Palmer, still B and JSP, the two Mercedes at 8th and 9th. Nitro is P10, F1 Richard P11, Malc is a couple of tenths slower in P12, Brennon's in P13, Synchronously fresh off his podium in Singapore down in P14, Cryptox in P15 as well. And of course we lost Sab through, looks like he just lost it just coming out of Stowe. And I was talking to Sab actually, and you could understand that perhaps the extra week could help him. Of course, it was his first race in F3 for a little while last time out a couple of weeks ago, and but he's been pretty confident for Silverstone. He didn't actually want an extra week. He was quite happy to go racing last week, but of course that was all out of his hands. But it's good to see. It looks like he's got a little bit of confidence about him. I'm sure this is only a minor setback. Of course, qualifying not particularly too high in Singapore, but it came through to finish P8. So I think if we can just keep it consistent, he could potentially again pick up some more points tonight.
Yeah, the main thing is just keeping it consistent for Sab at the moment. He's just nil onto the wheel. There's no point heaping pressure on yourself to be the quickest out there, or setting the world alight in qualifying and charging through in the race. But he just needs to keep it consistent, just pumping consistent lap times and follow the faster drivers, and you'll pick up so much in terms of speed and a bit of racecraft as well. So yeah, he'll only get better, and it's a disappointing qualifying, but he shouldn't kick himself for it.
Absolutely, of course. So there's really nothing to lose when you join a league with just 3 races to go. Nothing to lose. Just got to give it all your best, and of course just try and pick up and learn as much as you can. As we're about to just start the formation up any minute now. And of course, if you like what you're watching and you can't wait for more, well, we have finished the Xbox League for this game, season 10. The F1 League is also finished, Realistic Performance League has also finished. Sadly, that finished last night. Of course, as always, brought to you by Malc and Tim. And well, the F2 League and ourselves have still got one more round after tonight. Of course, next week, the F2 League running parallel of us. Wednesday, 8 p.m. Dan and James will bring in the finale of the F2 League, and of course, myself and Charlie will be bringing Monaco next week, 8 p.m. live on YouTube. And of course, you can hit us up on all the socials at Invictus Racing League for Instagram, at Invictus IRL for Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. You can find our website as well of Hall of Fame news, photo albums, and interviews with drivers. And of course, if you haven't already, remember to subscribe and give a thumbs up. And it looks like we're just about to get this formation lap underway. And what a qualifying from the Haas! It really has been out of the blue. We've seen Wojtek particularly at the two Haas drivers. They've both shown pretty good flashes of pace, and Wojtek perhaps a little bit more. Wojtek's picked up, I think he's picked up a couple of podiums this season. I think he got a podium in Abu Dhabi as well. And we've seen Wojtek, every now and then not being quite consistent, but has had pace to be at the front. But for one reason or another, it's not gone their way. But with the championship on the line tonight, this could be a real chance for the Haas team to really pick up an extortionate amount of points.
Yeah, this could be a massive chance for them to improve their standing. So hopefully they'll be able to take it. It'd be good to see a decent performance from both cars, because they've had pace here and there, like on and off, but not been able to quite get it together and get a good result in. So it would be good to see both cars have a good result here tonight.
And should be dry for both for the entirety of the race, I've been told. So in terms of strategy, it is sort of soft to medium or medium to soft, unless you really want to try something rather exuberant. And it looks like all the cars outside of the top 10 have opted for medium, other than the tail also of Cryptox in P15 and F1 Richard in P11. He's gone for a new set of softs. So it could be interesting to see where these guys build out. Of course, we were saying earlier, this is a really good track for battling. You get some absolutely fantastic battles around here. Let's hope it doesn't disappoint. DRS as well means you can really get a real nice train of cars trying moves. You can be quite inventive around the circuit as well, Charlie, because I think with obviously the changes that were brought in from 2011 onwards, of course, it's not quite the same historic fast-flowing track, but it is a bit more stop-start, at least at the first sector, but it does, I think, can quite often bring even closer racing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that you do get a lot of close racing, mainly through that first sector, because you got a bit of a drag through the first corner, along the pit straight through the first corner and around that sweeping left-hander into that tight right and then left, and it can often set up a little switchback manoeuvre ready for that DRS zone afterwards and things like that, and it can encourage wheel-to-wheel racing. So yeah, you do get good racing here still, even with the change of layout.
Of course, 3.6 miles it is now, and looks like we're just about all ready. Looks like Sab and Stephen have just filtered into their grid boxes there at the back, and we're now 4-5 red lights, and we're just waiting for them to go out. Will it be a good start for the Haas boys? It looks like it's been a good start. Looks like Wojtek and Luke Bailey have also got very good starts. So it looks like Craig is just going to be a little bit cautious, as looks like Wojtek's going to try and go around outside of Luke Bailey into turns 1 and 2, and he's got the job done. So it's a 1-2 for Haas as we're going to come out of the first sector. Looks like Gareth is trying to get wheel to wheel with the Haas of Jeffrey. Looks like Craig is just right behind, all over the gearbox of his championship rival. Looks like Jeffrey and Captain Stiff are still going all at it. Can Gareth get the move done already on the first lap? We look further on, looks like the two Haas are going to follow suit. As we look further down the order, a lot of swapping and changing. Looks like the two McLarens are going side by side, and two Red Bulls as well. Looks like it might even be changing position. Looks like Nitrogas has lost a couple of positions. Brenos has had a good start as well, and Simon Palmer hasn't quite made the progress. He's fallen behind one of the Mercedes of JSP, but it looks like it's been very well behaved so far.
Yeah, I was just looking at Simon Palmer at the start, and he tried making a little dive to the outside of Captain Stiff in front, and then Jeffrey and Captain Stiff went side by side into that second hairpin. Simon Palmer tried diving down the inside of both of them, and the room just cleared up, and there was no room for him. So yeah, he had to get out of it. The throttle, and JSP came through, so Simon Palmer down a place, and that's really not helped his teammate.
What a perfect first lap this has been for Haas so far. Tennis leads off the line from P1, and now Wojtek has jumped Luke Bailey up into P2 as Jeff again is also close. In fact, it looks like he's broken his wing, I think, off the camo, because he's now lost a whole heap of positions. Whereas looks like Craig has lost the position as well. Looks like Gareth has somehow snuck through past the pair of them, Looks like he just caught on the left-hand side of the camera, just off camera side. Looks like Jeffrey just maybe clipped the back of the Renault. I think that might have lost Craig a little bit of time and momentum. As now Simon Palmer sends it down the inside of the championship. The two Mercedes have tagged each other and have gone into the wall. JSP is out of the session, still B, and it's a virtual safety car. The two Mercedes couldn't decide who was going to take first dibs on the Racing Point, and Renault of Craig and Simon Palmer have taken each other out. I think Still has just about got away with it. I think he might have a little bit of front wing damage, but JSP, fresh from his win of Singapore, is out of the race after contact with his teammate.
That's so unfortunate. I'm not quite sure what happened coming into that last corner. It was a bit strange. I was looking at a few cars further back, but it just seemed like Jeffrey's car come to a halt, and everyone's had to sort of weave round it or hit him, and it was really strange. Maybe he made contact with the car in front, not entirely sure, but it enabled Simon to have a run at Craig, which he went for the move, went well deep, and Craig just slammed the door in his face on the exit with the switchback and said, no, I'm not having any of that. Craig back up into P5 at least, but he's got to get past Gareth now.
And Luke Bailey looking like he's going to try and get himself back up into P2. He's going to go down the inside into Stowe, and he's going to try and break that Haas 1-2. Wojtek leaves the door open, and Luke Bailey pulls off a very good move and up into P2 on the return of the green flags after the virtual safety car. Looks like Craig is quickly caught up to the back of Gareth as well. 2-second gap to the Williams of the Haas of Wojtek, as he's got to be careful. So now Jeffrey picks up 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. It's gone all wrong for him again tonight, as looks like Simon Palmer, we saw him sending it down the inside. It's now tapped the back of the Renault of Craig. Got to be so careful. You know, we all know what a job he wants to do for his teammate tonight, and he wants to take points off Craig. But he's got to be careful, because helping his teammate will not be ruining his own race and of course retiring. He's clearly got a lot of pace in that Alfa Romeo Simon Palmer. He's got to be a little bit careful though. He pulled off a great move, and somewhere in all the chaos of the two Mercedes hitting each other, Craig got back past the Alfa Romeo driver, and I'm sure he'll be looking to try and get past the Williams of Gareth, because Gareth will not have DRS on the car ahead, as he's over 2.5 seconds behind Wojtek now. But Simon Palmer's looking very, very racing. If you're Craig, you're not liking the fact of the progress of Luke Bailey's making, because Luke Bailey's now 2 tenths of a second behind Tinnis.
Yeah, Luke Bailey's going to be all over that Haas car in a minute. He's absolutely flying in this race. Maybe that VSC just put Tinnis off his stride a little bit, and as we've got Malc falling down the order now. Malc's round at the exit of Cop, so that's not good for him. He'll be dropped down to the back, and he's got a lot of work to do to regain that time. But we all know that safety cars are quite common in this game now, so I'm expecting to see one of them maybe later on.
And it looks like Luke Bailey just sent it down the inside of Stowe, back-to-back laps on the Haas, and he's gone down the inside of Wojtek and now down the inside of Tinnis, and he's gone into the lead. He's got a really slippery straight line speed in that Alfa Romeo. Of course, DRS assisted on this lap, and he sets a new fast lap of the race for good measure as well. 31.4 is absolutely flying. He's clearly been doing his practice, and maybe, well, for all he's saying, admitting it is very unlikely, perhaps not quite given up just yet, because he's in a very good position. And of course, if he can really eke out this race pace, he looks like he has right now, he could be in a fabulous position for this win. So Wojtek also closing up on his teammate, a couple of tenths behind his teammate. Worth DRS on the Alfa Romeo just about. We'll see what the Haas boys do. They're going to play it safe for now, but they don't want to let that Alfa Romeo get away, because he's looking so quick right now. There's Gareth just going a little bit wide, and let's say we've got Nitrogas and Still going side by side. I think Nitrogas might have just taken the place there of the Mercedes driver, as we go on board and ride with Craig. And of course, he's got to look forward and back. He's got to be careful of the Alfa Romeo in his mirrors. I'm sure he's already had 1 or 2 warnings where Simon Palmer's tapped the back of him, and of course almost got the move done just before the virtual safety car, so he knows what a threat that Alfa Romeo is, and he's looking so racy through Maggots and Beckett's, that Alfa Romeo driver, and he's so close to the back of the Renault. How much straight line speed, if he's got any straight line speed compared to his teammate, it could be in for a good move here. But Craig looking pretty slip in the straight line as well. Gareth weaving to the right then left to try and break a little bit of slipstream. But if you're Craig, you're kind of hoping that Gareth perhaps just maybe rather than defending, try and press on a little bit to try and catch up with the Hasses, because it's like they're beginning to look like they could be battling each other very soon, the two Haas drivers. It looks like Tinnis has crashed it into the wall and he exited the last corner just as I say that. I think all on his own, and they've got a safety car after lap 5. I don't know if he just dropped it on the exit or if there was contact. I wouldn't imagine contact being on the last corner between the two teammates, but poor Tinnis, after an incredible flying lap 5 laps later, he's now out of the race.
Yeah, it can be a corner where you can quite easily lose grip if you're just a bit too eager on that throttle, which with his teammate close behind him, I imagine he could have been just trying to get away, but yeah, if you're a bit too eager on that throttle, the rear end can go, and if you don't catch it, then it's good night, which unfortunately it is for Tinnis after that impressive qualifying. But yeah, Gareth now up into P3, Craig P4. It's only helped Craig that DNF, so he'll be wanting to push on and get past Gareth. It can be frustrating when you've got a car in front of you defending it like Gareth is, because it's not really helping anyone. Craig isn't really being able to go for the move, and it's only slowing both cars down. So yeah, as you say, I'm sure Craig would just want Gareth to just stick to his line and carry on, because it's just costing both of them at the moment, with Simon Palmer snapping at his heels.
Yeah, and one thing this safety car will certainly help is looks like Malc's going to rejoin on a set of brand new hard tyres, so at least allows him to catch back up. Also O'Stephen and Jeffrey, they're a little bit further behind. It'll be interesting to see what the front guys do if they do try the early pit stop. Let's go and see what Luke Bailey does. Looks like he's going to he is going to come into the pit, so we'll see what tyres he's going to go on. Will he try and eke out the medium tyres? He's got a 5 seconds speeding in the pit lane, which is the last thing he would have wanted. It looks like Wojtek's going to follow him in. Gareth is also, but championship leader Craig decides not to, as Gareth now picked up 5 seconds speeding in the pit lane. So it looks like it's already, we know it's one of the trickiest pit lane to do, because it is so early, the pit lane line. Of course, it's very slow around here as well. Looks like I've got about half the field pitting, but Craig's staying out. But 5 seconds for Gareth and Luke Bailey, that is crucial in this race.
Yeah, that is that is very frustrating for Luke Bailey, that penalty. Interesting to see Craig stay out. I'm not entirely sure what he's trying to do with that, because he's going to lose a heap of time once this safety car comes in, and he does eventually pit, which will only be lap 10. So it could have been beneficial really for Craig to pit and just come out, and I think the safety car might come in lap 8 maybe. If it's out until lap 8, then I'd say mediums could go to the end from there. So yeah, it's interesting to see that he has stayed out, but maybe he's just not that confident with tyre wear. So it could pay off, it might not. It's a gamble at the end of the day, and he'll be hoping that it does pay off, obviously, but he's going to have a lot of work on his hands if there's not another safety car now.
And see their top 5 still yet to make a stop. So Sab and Spud making up heaps of progress. Of course, they're still yet to pit. I think they're both on the medium tyre, so the safety car come a little bit too early for them. They're going to try and want to press on, and certainly if you're Craig, you're going to be hoping that you've got plenty of life left in your tyres, and you're going to be hoping that these guys behind you, who are still yet to stop, are going to really hold up Luke Bailey in particular. And interestingly, a little bit of a mix of strategies going on with the cars who have pitted. You've got Luke Bailey on a brand new set of mediums. You've got the likes of Wojtek, Gareth, Simon Palmer and F1 Richie gone on for the hard tyres. Cryptox has gone for a new set of mediums, and still on the hard tyres. You've got Synchronouzi who's also gone for a set of mediums, I should point out as well. But you've got to say, it's kind of split. It's also a little bit early, as you were saying, to go onto the medium tyres. But if you can eke them out, if you are kind on your tyres, you probably could just about do it. But it seems like a lot of drivers not quite up for that task and have gone for the hard set of tyres.
Yeah, like I say, I think it would have been doable, but it's a confidence thing at the end of the day. If you're not that confident that you can do it, you're not going to do it. So the hard tyres are very slippery around here, so guys are going to have to watch out for that. But yeah, it's a gamble at the end of the day, pitting or staying out. No one really knows what's going to pay off at this point in the race. You've only got to do what you think is right for you. So yeah, Craig is going to have a lot of work on his hands once the safety car comes in.
And of course, the 5 seconds for some reason or another in this game, of course, when you call your engineer to find out penalty of cars in front or behind you, they choose not to tell you that the car ahead or behind you does not have a 5-second penalty. So of course he may, unless he's got someone very trusty in his ear who's perhaps seen it flash up or something on their screen on the race director, then there's no way of him potentially knowing that. But this could potentially come back to him. Of course, if Luke Bailey does struggle tyres towards the end of the race, and these guys on the hard tyres do struggle for overall pace, because of course the hards are the slowest tyres available to them, then it could potentially find its way back up through the field. And of course, if there's a safety car later on, it could potentially come back into his hands as well. So we'll just have to see how that goes for him. But right now the championship leader is in first place. Nitro Gas is in P2. So Spuds and Sab are P3 and P4. Brennon's at P5. All of those guys are yet to pit. Luke Bailey was leading this race, just taking the lead, dropped to third place on the opening couple of corners. It was a Haas 1-2 for just a few laps, but a couple of brilliant laps from Luke Bailey and two memorable passes into Stowe on the two Haas drivers, back-to-back laps, putting himself into lead. It looked like he was just beginning to stretch his legs again, and the safety car came out, and him and like a lot of the field have decided to pit in for new tyres. And you've got to feel Luke Bailey, his safety car is in his lap. Luke Bailey, after getting into their lead, seeing safety car pop up, probably getting a little bit of flashbacks to Singapore, where it was probably the most, I even messaged him after the race saying it was probably one of the unluckiest we've seen. Every time he was wanting to stretch his legs, safety cars come out. He didn't have a single bit of luck 2 weeks ago, but maybe tonight will be a little bit different.
Yeah, that race never really got going, did it? Every time they tried to start, someone else would be in the wall and cause another safety car. It was a bit frustrating to watch, but crazy as well. So had some entertainment value, but it wasn't down to good racing. So yeah, Luke Bailey's out there on those mediums. He's obviously confident that he can take those to the end. Likewise, Cryptox. So we're back underway, and Cryptox is immediately going for a move on Richard. Oh, that's dodgy, and he's round into the gravel. That did not pay off, and he's broken his wing, so that is him completely ruined.
I just caught the end of it. It's just, he's went for the move into turn one. Of course, it's so fast, and of course, have got a little bit of cold tyres on the safety car restart. But you haven't done quite heated them all too much. As Luke Bailey's having a little bit of a look to the inside of the McLaren of Brennan, just thinks better of it on this lap, and that's just such a crucial time to make a mistake. As looks like Malc as well, and P15's all over the back of Stephen too. But yeah, such a crucial mistake at such a tough time. Of course, he's going to be hoping for another safety car, I imagine, because it looked like he picked up front wing damage after hitting the wall as well. So it would be interesting to see if he comes into the pit, or will he limp home coming across. It looks like he's about 7.5 seconds behind Malcolm Moses. Like Jeffrey in the background, so completely lost it out of cops, and he's got another safety car just gone on the hard tyres, completely lost it in the background on the exit curb. So it's been shot straight across the track into the wall. And it's another DNF for Jeffrey, and we've got immediately another safety car. Now, it'd be interesting to see, now, do these guys who have stayed out, do they stick with their strategy, or does Craig come in this time? It does come in this time, so, but I mean, that does at least help Cryptox, I suppose.
Yeah, here we go again. The same as last week, as we just mentioned. It'd be nice for a race to get going before someone crashes, but as I said, those hard tyres can be really slippery, and you run the risk of losing grip on them. So yeah, it's difficult. Obviously this has helped Craig a little bit. He's still going to be behind quite a few cars. He's got some work to do on track, but on those medium tyres, which I imagine he'll fit now, which he has, he'll have a much better chance than those guys on the hards up front.
Looks like Stephen is also into the pits. I know it looks like Cryptox too, potentially just changing front wing for the tail, also drive home. Steve, maybe if he perhaps just learned his lesson when it comes to this second safety car restart. And of course the front three at the moment, that's the Spuds, Sab and Bredons. These guys all started on the medium tyres, and of course they'll be planning to do their pit stop certainly a lot later on in this race, so they're just going to try and stick with it. And of course I'm sure they'll be looking to try and go onto the soft tyres later on into this race. As I'm sure it's looking pretty good for Luke Bailey though, because he's got 3 cars ahead of him who he knows he should be quicker. He's going to have much better tyres than the 3 cars ahead of him. He knows that it should be a lot quicker than the cars behind him, because they're all on the hard tyres. So you'd think, and we know how quick he was at the beginning of the race, so he's now in a very good position to try and regain this lead. You'd imagine he'd be aiming to try and get back in front before these guys pit, so try and do it on track so he can try and stretch his legs out before the mediums do wear off. But you think, after seeing the second safety car come out, and you now see Craig, he's now behind Malc in P12, so Craig's got a lot of work to do. You think Luke suddenly could be in a very good position if Craig can't quite fight his way through.
Yeah, this could be massive. If Craig can't fight his way through, then that's really going to help Luke out, and this championship will go down to the wire, and it'll be even closer going into that final race. So yeah, Luke will be hoping that Craig can't pick his way through, but I imagine on those brand new mediums, once the safety car comes in, that the Craig is going to be flying. So it's going to be interesting to watch. It certainly should be entertaining, I hope, and see if we can avoid crashes.
There's just the 5 seconds for severe collision under safety car there for the Red Bull Malc, and sadly I think that's just one of the many flaws of this game. Even a minor contact sadly is an instant 5 seconds under safety car, which is really going to hamper Malc's race, which is a real shame because he's sat in quite a nice position right now, just outside the points on those hard tyres, so it should be very good to go to the end. Looking at his front wing, he doesn't have any front wing damage, and of course he didn't go into the pits either, so he's clearly not got any damage, so he should be well alright to still go to the end. But that's 5 seconds again is going to really hurt him. Of course we know 5 seconds for Luke Bailey and the Williams of Gareth as well for speeding in the pit lane, so of course these penalties could potentially come back and haunt these guys. They could, of course, if there is a late safety car, they could always pit and serve it into the pit box rather than serve it at the end. But we'll just have to see how that unfolds. We're currently on lap 10 or 26. Hopefully we'll see the safety car come in at the end of this lap. But Sab, from last place, currently sits in P2. I'm not sure, safety car or not, I'm sure he wouldn't be expecting to see that on the screen after 10 laps.
No, I'm sure he wouldn't have been expecting that, but anything can happen in these races with safety cars, and he is there. He's got some work to do as well because he needs to pull a gap. Obviously being on that alternate strategy along with Sir Spud in front and Brennan's behind, they've got some work to do because they'll need to pit, and the pit stop here is a killer. It's a long pit stop, so I think you end up losing around about 30 seconds in fact, so they'll have a long way to catch up once they do make their pit stop and change onto those softer tyres, which is not too far away actually.
And there's confirmations safety car is in this lap, so Spud, Sab and Bernals can really try and stretch their legs on these guys, particularly who are on the harder tyres behind them, but they are going to have to fend off Luke Bailey. First of all, looks like Sir Spud just going to have to back off just a little bit more before he can send his Ferrari off into the distance here. Certainly be hoping so. Of course 9 laps on those medium tyres, started outside the top 10, so they should still be in pretty good condition. Of course brand new on, as looks like he has now just pulled the trigger and is unleashing himself around to start lap 11. We are under green flags now. Looks like Craig and Nitrogas already having a little bit of a jostle. Of course you can't overtake before you go over the start finish line. It's like Brennan's is very close to the back of Sab as well. Not a perfect start for Wojtek. He's already 2.5 seconds behind Luke Bailey. Maybe just caught napping there, or maybe just had a little bit of a moment, because it looks like Gareth is all over the back of him. Can he just try? He's going to try to take that wider line into turn 4 to try and open up his exit through turn 5. It looks like Brennan's is super close. In fact, it's going to go down wide into turn 6 of Brooklands. He's going to wheel to wheel with Sab. Sab breaks very late, and it looks like Brennan's just about to get a move done. Sab's going to try and hold it around the outside and just backs out, and it looks like we're around Luffield, and it looks like the McLaren driver's just about got the move done. Got to be a little bit wary of Luke Bailey, who's now going to be very close to the back of him. Equally, it looks like Malc is very, very close in the battle with Synchronously, and Mercedes of still be there for 8th, 9th and 10th. Looks like Sab as well. Luke Bailey are still very, very close. Of course, Luke Bailey, much fresher medium tyres, you'd think had much better pace as well than these guys. Of course, qualifying at the front. See what Sab can do in the exit of Max Beck's coming onto the home straight. What straight line speed has he got in that racing point machine? Looks like Spud's had a fantastic restart. 1.1 second gap in just over just under a lap, as Sab just having a little bit of a look at the McLaren driver, goes a little bit wide. Might open the door potentially for Luke Bailey into this last sector. It looks like got a moment there for just whole jostling of positions. I think it might be Nitrogas and Malc now going around the outside of his teammate through the last section of corners. It's like F1 Richard getting the jump on Mercedes as well. Craig's now behind his teammate, so Synchronously is going wheel to wheel with the Mercedes. He picks up 3 seconds for him. Oh, that's bang, wheels coming into turn 1. That was still B and Craig. It still goes a little bit wide, and Craig's come out ahead. We've got a racing point of Sab in the gravel trap, as now Nitrogas, opportunistic as ever, comes flying down the inside of turn 3 for a fantastic move into P10. I mean, losing breath. It's just like now Craig now hasn't quite got DRS yet. It looks like Sab's still just trying to wrestle his car back on track, but I didn't see what happened to Sab there, Charlie, but it looks like he might have just lost it through turn 2 perhaps.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure either. I wasn't right on board with him. I was like you, looking at the battle with 4 or 5 cars going at it, but yeah, it looks unfortunately like Sab has just lost it coming out of turn 1, which you can do if you run a bit wide and get onto that curb, it can throw you across the track. And it's looking like that's happened, unfortunately. So he's going to be praying for another safety car for his race, but it's looking like it's pretty much over for him if he, yeah, from here. But Craig has moved up a couple of places. Sorry, was you
No, so I was just looking at the McLaren of F1 Richard and Synchronicity. I think wisely so gets out the way of his teammate, but it's got to be a little bit careful because the Red Bull Nitrogas sent a very good move into turn 3. It's now going to look to the inside of the Renault. Thinks better of it. It's got to be a little bit careful because he's got the Mercedes, or still is going to go for the move around the outside, and now it's the inside line. Next signals corners. I think he's just backed out of it. Does that open the door for Malc? Not quite, but this is a fantastic battle for 8th, 9th and 10th. And as I was saying, I think Synchronicity doing the honourable thing. He knows his teammate's got a championship to potentially win tonight, and getting out the way down the hangar straight. And I'm sure Craig will be all eyes focused now on the McLaren of F1 Richard.
Yeah, he will be fully focused on going forward. So the next 4 cars in front of Craig are on the hard tyre, so he should have a definite pace advantage over them just through the tyre. And we know Craig was pretty good. I think qualified P4 anyway, so he's clearly got the pace. Just needs to get on with it now and get past some of these cars. As you say, he's all over the back of that McLaren straight away, so he'll be wanting to get past.
F1 Richard's certainly going to have his mirrors full because he's got 3 medium tyre runners right behind him. He's kind of sat in P7, which I'm sure he's very happy with, but of course he's on those harder tyres, so his race is going to come back to him right now. Meanwhile, Luke Bailey's looking very sharpish on the back of his teammate, or Brennan's. He's had plenty of straight line speeds down this hangar straight. Is he going to send it down the inside? He knows he hasn't got to take too many risks. His championship rival is down in 8th place, but he's going to send it into Stowe. It's been a bit of a trademark move from him tonight. And the McLaren driver's going to stick with it. He's going to try and hold on to the inside for the last sequence of corners. Is he going to try and... But Luke Bailey's still got the inside line now. They're going to go side by side. It's almost Massa and Hamilton 2011. And the McLaren driver sweeps around the outside and maintains 2nd place. Great racing. As I think Simon Palmer is now on the grass. I think did a similar thing. Excuse me. But couldn't get past the Haas driver.
Just behind, it was Gareth replicating what Luke was doing, I think. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I think it was Gareth overtaking Wojtek maybe. And then Simon Palmer going into the left-hander, the tight left-hander, just decided, well, quite stupidly, to stick his nose in and just really unsettled Wojtek. And then they were battling. Simon Palmer was trying to go past him off the track and eventually had to bail out of it. But yeah, Simon Palmer looking really aggressive again behind the Haas of Wojtek and wanting to get past, but maybe trying a bit too hard.
Well, this is why we lost Silverstone. It just gives such great racing. It's given us some real great Grand Prix in recent years in real life and on the game as well. It certainly brings up some real good racing, and we're seeing a lot of it tonight. Only lap 14 of 26. So Spud and Brennan's are P1 and P2. Yeah, they are yet to make their pit stop, as Craig is all over the back of the McLaren driver. But what can Luke Bailey do? Can he get past the other McLaren of Brennan's? He looks like he's a little bit too far back on this occasion. Where just go and have a look at his teammate Simon Palmer. Looks like he's going to have to be try and move on Wojtek super late on the brakes and Stowe. Too late on the brakes, in fact. As looks like Craig's going wheel to wheel the McLaren. He's going to see the Alfa Romeo rejoin the circuit ahead of him, but he's going to go wheel to wheel, going through the last sequence of the corners. F1 Richard will have the inside line, but looks like Craig has already got the position and he's already up into P7. So it's been a final recovery drive from potentially the champion in waiting, Synchronicity. He's potentially got a bit of a run at the McLaren, but he's got to be careful because now the Red Bull of Nitrogas is going to send it down the inside. A fantastic move from the Red Bull, who's picked up a couple of positions. And now Synchronicity is now got to be careful because still B is now trying to queue up and he's going to send it down the inside. Synchronicity holds on to this position, but Craig himself back up into P7. Luke Bailey though looks like he's finding it quite a tricky task to get past the McLaren driver right now, Brennan's.
Yeah, it's awfully difficult for Luke because obviously Brennan's has got DRS off of Sir Spud in front, so it just makes it sort of stagnates the straight line speed. You don't really gain anything apart from what you get off the slipstream, but obviously the guy in front's got a slipstream anyway, so it's really hard for Luke at the moment, but he's just going to have to keep pressuring, but I'm sure these guys within the next couple of laps will be in and out of his way, and I'm sure that'll be a massive relief for him when they are, because he'll just want to build a gap over Captain Stiff with Gareth in 4th place.
Still getting so much more speed coming out of Corpse there, but it's got a 3-second time penalty for just cutting the entrance there of Maggots. But let's go wide back on board, and it looks like again for Spud after a very good restart. So it's maybe just struggling with tyre life a little bit, but these two are going to eke it out a little bit more. So it's like Nitro Gas is going to wheel the McLaren. It looks like he's pulled off a great move on the McLaren drive, so he's up into P8. Nitro Gas is really making some really good progress. It's now Synchronicity looks down the inside of the McLaren driver. He's on the hard tyres. They'll be going to the end quite comfortably. I'm sure by the end of the race they'll be in better condition than these guys who are in front of him on medium tyres. But right now he's going to suffer a little bit of pain. He's just getting swallowed by the pack who are on medium tyres. There's a Synchronicity. It's just all over the back of the McLaren now. He's going to have a little look to the inside of McLaren, but it's very nice and late to just defend off his position. There's now Craig's going wheel to wheel with Simon Palmer, banging side pods, and Simon Palmer just holds on this occasion. But now Craig's going to have DRS. He's going to flick it up into 7th gear. Simon Palmer's going to try and squeeze him almost to the grass as they come now flying through. Simon Palmer's going to try and come back underneath and rams over the curb, picks up a 3-second time penalty, and they come around Luffield. And the medium tyres are paying off for Craig. He's now got himself up into P6. He knows there's a couple of positions further ahead when the likes of Brennon's and Spud make their pit stop. But Craig up into P6 and a fabulous battle with Simon Palmer.
Simon Palmer is driving like a bit of a maniac tonight. He's all over the road. He's a bit erratic, sticking his nose in places where it shouldn't be. Almost caused a bit of a crash there. You know, like outbraking himself. He just needs to sort it out, calm down, because he's not going to help his teammate by doing that. So he needs to calm down, because he has got the pace to fight with Craig on track. Let's see if he's going to make a move for it here. He's not. He's closed right up to the back of that Renault though, and I'm sure he won't let that Renault out of his sight. But yeah, he just needs to keep a cool head and pick his moment. Which he's going around the outside now. Is he going to make that stick? Craig is not going to give him the room, but Simon's going to stay there. Is he going to back out now? Surely he's got to. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he just needs to calm down, because if he keeps going like this, he'll end up taking Craig out, and that's not what we want to see either.
No, I mean, this is incredible. I don't know where to look. As so Spud finally pits, he's going to come out. P13's got a lot of ground to make up, but it will be on those soft tyres, so he should be able to make up ground and time. Pretty sharpish, you would imagine, but I don't know where to look. Brennan's pulled off and moved down the hangar straight to take the lead. Of course, he's still yet to do his pit stop, but he's looking really handy. He's done a superb job at holding Luke Bailey back. And what this is doing is really pulling Gareth into a nice position, because he knows with 9 laps to go, of course, he's on those hard tyres, and he knows Luke Bailey's tyres are going to be in far worse conditions than his. So it looks like Nitro Gas is now the next guy to attack Simon Palmer. Looks like he just hasn't quite made it stick just yet. But looks like Luke Bailey's just coming unstuck again behind that McLaren of Brennon's. And of course, when you take into consideration the 5-second penalties of Luke Bailey and Gareth, you've got to say Craig is he's within those 5 seconds. So right now, Luke Bailey's really got to get past his McLaren, probably hoping that he's going to come into the pits this lap, because he's got to eke out a 5-second gap to the cars behind if he wants to try and win this race, because he's clearly got the pace to do it. But the pace of Brennon's, considering how old his tyres are, is going to do another lap. It's been quite remarkable to be holding on to the lead. Is Simon Palmer now going wheel to wheel with the Red Bull. The Red Bull going onto the grass to get the inside line. And what does Simon Palmer do? He's going to try and hang it around the outside. But looks like Nitro Gas has got the move done, as Craig now sets the fastest lap of the race. So it looks like it's all swinging back into Craig's favour.
Yeah, Brennon staying out is making this race far more interesting, as Craig's now going to close up onto the back of the 3 cars ahead of Luke Bailey, Captain Stiff, Gareth and Wojtek. Yeah, so this is going to give us a really interesting battle for the podium. As you say, with Luke Bailey and Gareth having those penalties, I'm not sure what Wojtek's got, but it's also going to create an interesting battle for the lead and possibly the championship.
Luke Bailey just perhaps getting a little bit impatient now in Alfa Romeo cockpit. He just tries a little look into Brooklands, but it's not quite managed to make it stick. It looks like Stills all over the back of the McLaren of Evan Richard. Simon Palmer's falling well behind here. I'm not quite sure. We'll try and have a little look if we can get a glance of his front wing, if he has got any front wing damage, or if he's just seriously struggling with his hard tyres, because he's flying down through the field. I can't quite see any damage on his front wing, so I think it might just be really struggling with the harder tyres right now. He's lost position, not just to Craig and Nitro Gas. He's now a second and a half behind the Red Bull driver. It looks like Luke Bailey is just about to pull off a move around the outside. A DRS wide open down the hangar straight, and he's pulled off a fabulous move around the outside into Stowe. Crucial timing for him, as the McLaren of Burners is going to still stay out. So he's going to try and hold on for at least another couple of laps. as looks like this now does open a door for Gareth, who of course has 5 seconds of his own. Craig, we know, has set the fastest lap last lap around, so he's going very nicely in P5. He knows he's still got a position or two up for grabs. If only he knew his championship rival on Gareth ahead of him have a 5-second time penalty as well, would certainly be handy information to him, as it looks like Steele is getting also close to the back of the McLaren of F1 Richard. Equally, Malc is just hanging on to the P10 for the final point scoring position as Spud perhaps unexpectedly sets the fastest lap on the new set of softs.
Yeah, just a bit further back behind them, behind Craig, Nitric Ash. Started down in P10, he's up in P6 and looking pretty handy. If he can close up to those guys that have got penalties, he's having a really tidy race so far, which is good to see. He's had a couple of impressive results this season as well, so yeah, he's having a tidy little race. Also, F1 Richard is up 3 places from 11th as well, putting the pressure on Simon at the moment. So yeah, a couple of guys further back having a good race.
Yeah, just can this McLaren of F1 Richard try and get a move done on the Alfa Romeo Simon Palmer. He's got to be careful because of course Steel B has been glued to his rear wing for a good number of laps now. Simon Palmer now getting on the grass on the exit of Maggots and Beckett's, and down the Hackett Street, F1 Richard slices to the right hand side of the Alfa Romeo. He's going to go past, and now does Steel try and follow him through. He's going to stick to the rear of him, and now it looks like Simon Palmer's going to low dart to the inside line back on the McLaren. Going to just try and squeeze into all the way to the edge of the track, and now does this open the door for Steel B? It does, and the Mercedes driver gets past the McLaren finally. Going to run a little bit wide on the exit of the last corner, but he moves up into P8. Simon Palmer forcefully gets back past up into P7 as Gareth is now 5 tenths behind the McLaren of Brennan's as well. So Brennan's still staying out. Just he has still, of course, yet to do his pit stop, so he is. I mean, maybe someone should tell him that there is no ultra softer thing. Maybe he's just having a really nice battle and thinking, I'm not in the championship hunt, I'm going to try and have a really nice race. As looks like Steel B's finally got past the Alfa Romeo Simon Palmer.
Yeah, that was a bit more like it from Simon, wasn't it? A bit more of controlled aggression, so to say, and just sent it down the inside of Richard into that left-hander and slammed the door in his face on the exit, as he rightfully should. So that was a bit better to see. Not sure if he'll be able to get past Steele now, because Steele looks pretty quick on these hards. Yeah, Gareth now closing in on Brennan's. I'm not entirely sure why Brennan's hasn't pitted yet. He's only losing time now. He should have. The softs can quite easily go 9-10 laps, so yeah, maybe he's just really trying to bank on getting that fastest lap at the end as he stays out again. I'm not entirely sure what he's trying to gain from this.
And here comes Simon Palmer back down the inside, and the Mercedes driver is going to squeeze into the exit, but the Mercedes driver isn't going to give up. He's now got the inside, but Simon Palmer can see the mirrors switching from the right mirror to the left and pulls off a fantastic move. The Alfa Romeo driver to go down the inside and back up into 7th. These two are having a fantastic battle as Simon Palmer pulls off a fantastic move, and clearly not quite having the pace, but he's certainly having some fantastic overtakes right now. As Gareth is still stuck behind the McLaren of Brennan's, half second behind. Is still going to try it around the outside, late on the brakes. It looks like he's chipped off a bit of his front wing there. You can just see it hobbling off the circuit there on the exit. Yeah. So he's now, all the pace he's got, he's going to surely lose, and he's going to come under a lot of pressure from F1 Richards. Also, it's nice Simon Palmer picks up 3 second time, but I think just going wide. As it looks like Gareth and Brennan's going wheel to wheel out of the luck field, and now coming down past the old home straight. It looks like Gareth's just going to have the move done and goes up into P2. He's 2 seconds behind Luke Bailey, who has sort of checked out. It looks like, of course, his tyres could wear and could grain. But also earlier on, we saw Cryptox taking the final point off Malc for now. Of course, a lot of these guys still do have penalties, so there is a chance here for Malc to still try and pick up a couple of points before the season finale of Monaco's. Cryptox all over the back of the McLaren driver. F1 Richard, surely not. He just had a little look into Maggots on the McLaren driver. But this battle from 7th place down is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, that was again a great move by Simon down into club corner. Lovely little dummy he sold Steele there, and Steele just didn't know what to do, and then Steele just tried a stupid move down into that right hairpin and chipped a bit of his wing off, as you said. So there was really no need to do that, as now he's got Richard all over the back of him, and he's only going to cause himself problems towards the end of this race.
We just saw Craig going wheel to wheel through Stowe with Wojtek. He's gone up into P4, and you know, I haven't got my calculator out, but it's like he's still just about holding on to the 5 second gap between himself and Gareth and Luke Bailey. So Craig could be on for a race win here tonight. We don't know just yet. Cryptox looking very racy as well. In this final stage, F1 which it looks to the inside of the Mercedes. You can see how much downforce the Mercedes is missing. Sam Palmer is suddenly finding a lot of speed away from the Mercedes. Still be looking so quick on these hards all night, but just chipping that front wing has really cost him a whole heap of time. And now Cryptos looking down the inside of F1 Richard. Richard just giving her space for his front wing and no more, just shutting the door. Equally Malc looking behind, looking forward with intent. Stephen as well for good measure. There's so many cars up for the final few point scoring positions. Looks like Palmer might just be able to sneak away with 7th place if Steele can hold off F1 Richard for just a couple more laps, as it looks like Craig is now very quickly caught up to the back of Brennan's. Brennan's has been on those medium tyres for practically the entirety of this race. DRS wide open for the championship leader, goes up into P3, and it's about 4.5 seconds, and it's finally pits.
Yeah, that's it's good that Craig's cleared Brennan's, and obviously Brennan's now pitted. Would have got out of his way anyway, but yeah, I'm just looking at the gap, and it is 4.9 seconds to Luke Bailey at the moment. So Craig's tyres off, 3 laps younger. He should really be able to gain a bit now with the clear air in front of him, and he'll want to just try and tag along to the back of Gareth. You can see Gareth is good because he's got something to chase in front. It's a bit harder when you can't see a car in front and you've got nothing to chase, but he can see a car, and he'll be wanting to tag along, which I think he is going to slowly start making inroads into that gap.
And it's just a synchronous layer time from the session, and Brennan's he's given us some fantastic entertainment. We can see with just 4 laps to go, he's going to come out P13, a long way behind sadly for him. Shame he's had some really good racing on those medium tyres. He really wants to make them last that long, but Cryptox has so much more grip through Brooklands. His course having a whole full front wing is going to help with that. It's pulled off a fabulous move around the outside, and Malc for good measure is going to try and follow him through. So the sister Red Bull of the Toro Rosso they're going through, and then the brother car of the Red Bull following him through. So a nice bit of almost teamwork there. As then Stephen pits a move from the Mercedes. Poor Steele has lost 3 positions in about 2-3 corners. So looks like the final point scoring position right now going to Stephen. Steele has picked up a 3-second time penalty on the back end of that previous lap. So that's certainly not going to help him. It looks like Malc, who's now up into P9, and see Cryptox there ahead of him. So their red light there flashing, so he's saving energy down this back straight. He has DRS as well, so you can just see how much he's gained on the Toro Rosso car, so he's got a chance of even more positions here. And of course with penalties further forward, he could pick up a few more points tonight. You know, Simon Palmer certainly definitely got a 3-second time penalty. I believe it still now gets I think he might just be coming into a tyre, or could well be just changing his front wing to try and have one last lap blast at the fastest lap of the race. As looks like Craig's now just, it's about exactly 5 seconds gap between himself and Luke Bailey with 3 laps to go. Of course, he has got slightly better tyres, he's got plenty of clear air, so if he has got the pace, Craig, he has sort of got no excuses. He can, not that he probably knows it, but he can win this race still.
Yeah, he can definitely still win this race. He just needs to close up to those 2 cars in front and keep in that 5 seconds. It's going to be touch and go because he's not really closing up actually at the moment as I thought he would. Maybe Luke Bailey's just got a bit more raw pace, although he's on the older tyres. Maybe he's just got a bit more raw pace around here, and that's the way it's looking at the moment. Just further back down the order, Sir Spud, Brennan's and Sab, the 3 guys that we mentioned on the alternate strategy earlier. It's really not paid off for him, is it? Brennan's, I'm not quite sure why he stayed out so long, because he looked like the one with the pace out of the 3 of them, but like I said earlier, with the pit lane being so long here, you lose so much time, and they're just too far back now to make any sort of inroads in. I know Sab lost it, but the other 2 are too far back to make any inroads into the car in front, so it's really not worked out for them. But yeah, Craig's now, crucially, 5.1 seconds behind Luke Bailey.
So it's so close, just 2 laps to go between the top 3, and of course Gareth will be kicking himself as well, picking up a 5-second speeding in the pit lane. Of course he was under safety car conditions as well, so these 2, first and second, were knowing just how unnecessary that penalty was, and I'm sure they'll be kicking themselves for doing it. But looks like Malc is just about keeping with the Toro Rosso, and he's looking pretty dangerous in a straight line as well, so he knows there's more positions up for grabs. F1 Richard is about 1.4 behind Simon Palmer. He just hasn't quite got the pace to try and close up enough to get himself DRS for this last lap. Malc is looks like just stayed in the DRS zone of the Toro Rosso of Cryptox. So it looks like these guys who did opt to pit on the medium tyres and try and eke them out to the finish, it looks like it's really paid off for them tonight, because particularly Craig, we saw him the safety car restart, he was down in P12. All of a sudden he's on for, well, he's sat in P3 with penalties. He could be on for a second or maybe even a win. It's really worked out for him tonight in the end.
Yeah, it has worked out for him really well, and I've just flicked through it. It is just the 5-second penalties that the guys in front have, so if they've not served those in the pits, they will be applied at the end, and that will cost them. But it's looking like Craig's just dropping back now from Luke. He's 5.7 now, so he's not going to get that win if those penalties are applied, which obviously means the championship will go and roll on to next week, which is good. We like a showdown in Monaco for the title. That'll be very entertaining, but yeah, I believe it is just the 5 seconds that the guys in front have got, so he needs to get a move on this last lap. Craig does. Yeah,
of course, he's looking pretty handy to take second place off Gareth at least, and of course that would mean he would lose 3 points to his championship rival if he does come second, which would just about be enough to win the championship tonight, as I just see Malc getting very close to the back end of Cryptox. So it looks like F1 Richard perhaps just having a little bit of a sloppy second to last lap there, as he's now going to have to go defensive coming into Brooklands, and is Cryptox going to try and send it down the inside. He's very late on the brakes, he is going to send it down the inside. F1 Richard has to try and back out of it, and still sets fastest lap of the race, but a fabulous move by Toro Rosso, and once again it's almost synchronised as the Red Bull trying to follow through the Toro Rosso, and it didn't quite work at this time. I think F1 Richard was wise enough to it, and he's pulled up himself, hold it off into 8th place. I think Cryptox has got a couple of time penalties. I don't believe F1 Richard has, so maybe this information is news to him, but we're just going right on board with our race leader, who's about to come out and do his last sequence of corners, and of course he has got that 5-second penalty, but good news for him is that Gareth also does have it, and it looks like he's going to hold off nicely to Craig. Gareth comes over the line in P2, but Craig, all he needs is a second place, and he has secured the points, enough points to claim himself the F3 championship tonight, as Gareth does hold on to P3 for the skin of his teeth, as Wojtek 7 tenths of a second off the podium. Nitrogras, a fabulous race from him, up into P5, and on penalties keeping it clean has meant F1 Richard jumps all the way up into P6. Cryptox drops down into 7th, oh Stephen into 8th, Simon Palmer clearly a whole hurdle of penalties in P9. Malc had a 5-second penalty. It might have been, oh yes, it was for collision under safety car, which is really unfortunate because that's cost him a couple of positions, I believe. And Brennons crosses the line after. It's given us a lot of entertainment tonight, Brennons. Had a good pace on medium tyres. So Spud in P12. It's like still, well, it's got fastest lap of the race at least, but it comes down P13. And poor Sab after a spin. Looks like it's going to round out the field in P14. A fabulous race, Charlie, but in the end, Craig loses 3 points, which means, of course, his championship lead is reduced to 17 points, which now means it is mathematically certain he's won the championship. And you've got to say, I think Luke Bailey and Craig, it's been a masterclass between them, but Craig's just been the two biggest strengths these guys have had is their consistency. But you've got to say, over the course of particularly the last 5, maybe 4 races, the consistency has just been a little bit more kind to Craig.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really been a lot to choose between them, as you said, and I'm sure Luke will be kicking himself because of those last 2 races. Obviously, Singapore, he was actually spun round by Craig and DNF'd, and I think the race before that, or a couple of races before that, in Monza, he was involved in an incident with Craig down at the chicane as well, which cost him massively. So yeah, it's not, there really hasn't been a lot to choose between them, and it was neck and neck up until that point. So I'm sure he will be a bit disappointed, but I'm sure he'll be going for it next season. He's clearly got the consistency and the pace over the course of the season to challenge for a title, so let's not count him out for next season.
Absolutely, of course, nice podium celebrations there between the Alfa Romeo driver, the Renault driver, and of course Gareth putting himself up into the podium for the first time since Spain, I believe. So very nice result there for the Williams driver, and of course I'm sure he'll be very pleased with that. And but there is your classification. Luke Bailey wins the race, and a really nice job for him. I'm sure a little bit of justice after a disappointing Singapore Grand Prix. Craig comes home in P2, enough for the championship tonight. Captain Stiff Gareth into P3, Wojtek P4, Fabulous Racing Nitro from P10 to P5, F1 Richard, a great raceman, kept it tidy into P6, Cryptox P7, did a good recovery after of course spinning on this first safety car restart. Steven in P8, so he picks up good points. Simon Palmer, quite a few penalties I think, if we just see that flash up, 6 seconds, so yeah, it cost himself a couple of places there. And Malc as well got a 5-second penalty, dropped him down to 10th, but he gets a point. And Brennon's Spud, Still and Sab, for those guys the alternate strategy just didn't work out. Still I think just dropped it and had to pit for a new front wing. And Synchronously and Jeffrey and Tinnis, sadly we all lost and DNF'd, but we've still got one race to go. And of course, as you're saying, we only have 2 leagues available right now, obviously because the wrap-up conclusion of the F1, the Realistic and the XBOX League. But if you didn't join, of course you can't wait for next Wednesday. Of course the F2 Championship is still ongoing into Monaco round 12, that of course live on YouTube Wednesdays at 8 PM, brought to you by Dan and James. And of course the finale of the F3 Season 10 League is at the same time, myself and Charlie presenting live on YouTube Wednesdays 8 PM. And of course that'll be the final race on the F1 2019 game before these guys get a little bit of a break to try and hit the reset button, have a little bit of a day off I suppose, or week off from the F1 2019 game, and try and adapt quickly to the F1 2020 game, because I'm sure we'll be back very, very quickly. And the podium have now all joined us, and I think Charlie will be doing the post-race interviews tonight.
Yeah, if all you guys can just make sure that you've got your voices set to allowed to be shared. And once you're happy that you have, I will start with the interviews. Luke, are you ready?
Yep, ready.
Come to you first, as you're the winner. You started in P2. You played the safety car perfectly to begin with. Obviously, there was a second one which brought other drivers back into it. But are you? Does this feel a little bit bittersweet, this win, knowing that Craig's just picked up the title?
No, not really. I kind of said it before coming into it. It were not looking very promising to take it to the last race anyway. Realistically, he needed to DNF, so yeah, I didn't really have high hopes, but I thought I'd still make sure I were up there just in case. But yeah, he did everything he needed to do. So.
And when you saw that qualifying time from Tinnis, did you think that you'd be able to beat him? Were you confident that he could carry that race pace, or were you confident about your pace?
No, on my last run, I knew it was a good lap, and I knew it were going to get Paul. But obviously, I just was coming to the last 2 bends, and I saw it pop up, and I went, "Yeah, that's me second."
And just finally, do you feel that the incidents with Craig in Monza and Singapore really ended your championship hopes, or do you put it down to your own driving?
No, not at all. There's been many other reasons. There's been incidents with other drivers, and there's also been 2 races where my DRS basically cost me points. So there's many reasons that stopped it. So no, I won't say it's got anything to do with it really.
Okay, cool. Well done on the win. It was a great drive, commanding drive again, as we've seen previously. And yeah, it's another win to add to your tally. Craig, on to you. Congratulations, you are the Invictus Racing League F3 champion, drivers champion. Just tell us how you feel and how happy I expect you are.
Relieved, to be honest with you. Started the race as best as I could just to try and stick behind Luke. Got a touch from, I don't know who it was, just coming into the final few corners on the first lap, which caused a half spin. Lost a few positions, so it was just about trying to get back up the grid. Yeah, but I just want to say to Luke, absolutely fantastic season, mate. I've had to be perfect or near enough to secure the title. So he's certainly pushed me the hardest in all the years that I've been doing online racing. So I'm sure he'll come back stronger next season.
Yeah, cheers Craig. Well done anyway, well done for the title.
Cheers.
Yeah, he did everything right.
Cool. And just Craig, to you again. You stayed out under that first safety car. Did you think that was a bit risky, seeing everyone else pit, or were you just confident that you'd pull a gap afterwards? Because obviously that second safety car really sort of saved you a bit.
Well, I was planning for a second safety car. I was gambling on it. Yeah, so the plan was in the restart of the safety car was just try and bomb away, try and open up a gap, and just really take a gamble on a second safety car. Didn't expect it to be that soon, because when the first safety car came out, I thought it was maybe just a bit too early for mediums. So the plan was to try and catch the drivers that had pitted under safety car for either mediums or halves and try and catch them with a fresher tyre later in the race.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good comeback, and obviously you had a few battles. Were you scared at any point? Obviously with Luke's teammate Simon Palmer trying to stick his nose in a few places. I noticed. It must have been a bit unnerving.
Fair play to Simon. Made it tough for me. Certainly wasn't easy. There's a few hairy moments, particularly going down to end of sector 1 where no space was left. I thought I'd actually overshot my braking point. But yeah, once the move was done, because I was on the softer compound, I knew I would get the better traction out the corners. So it was just about breaking DRS down the hanger straight and just focus ahead from there.
Yeah, good. Well, obviously, congratulations. You are the champion for this season, and it's been a great season to watch the two of you. And it seems quite fitting that it's the title was wrapped up with the two of you in first and second. So yeah, well done. On to Gareth finally. You started in P6. You look like you're struggling in qualifying up until your final run, obviously, where you managed to nab P6. But it was well, I'd say it was a quiet race for you compared to some other drivers we were looking at. But was it a quiet race for you, and how did you manage to pick your way up the field?
Yeah, I mean, quali didn't quite go my way. I'd actually done in practice just before the session. I did a time on the mediums that was good enough for fourth. So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. Made a couple of invalidations, and the last lap I kind of was just overdriving the car, so only managed sixth. But yeah, just kind of picking up places as and when. Craig got a little bit of a tag from one of the racing points, and that allowed me to go around the outside. And then yeah, that safety car helped. I thought I'd go onto the hards because I know that I usually quite poor at tyre wear, and yeah, I thought I'd bet on the hard tyres and hope that the mediums started to fall off. But unfortunately, I came across the line to go into the pit lane, picked up a pit speed, even though it was dead on the limit. So yeah, that was slightly gutting. And yeah, I think that eventually it probably cost me the win, because if Luke had equally picked one up. So yeah, it was all right. It was just finding overtakes as and where they came, and yeah, being consistent, which is something I've not been particularly great at. So yeah, it might not be a win, but I'll happily take a podium.
Yeah, and yeah, those 2 5-second penalties, we did see Luke and a few other drivers pick them up. Actually, it's a hard pit lane as it's so slow, and you've got to get down from such a high speed. But did you, on those hards, I was just going to mention those. Did you feel they were the right tyre? Do you feel you had enough pace on them to go to the end, or were you worried about the guys behind on the mediums?
I was quite happy with the pace on them. I was closing down Wojtek, and obviously Brennon's was closing down as well. It was more a case of towards the second half of the stint, they started, even though they were falling away, they were overheating a little bit into Maggots and Beckett's, and especially in the last few laps, I knew that I had that penalty, and I was kind of desperately hoping not to lose the podium. So I was overdriving the car, I was putting too much temperature in, so I think I ended up dropping back a good second and a half to Luke in the last 2 or 3 laps. And so yeah, it was just it was a good race. Could be better, but you can't complain.
Yeah, and just one more to you, Gareth. This is been your first season on the wheel. You seem to be improving and picking up better and better results. How have you found it, and do you feel as if you're heading in the right direction?
Yeah, it's been everything I wanted. I've been way ahead of what I put. Originally I put myself in with a target scoring 20 points. I think I've hit that, and I thought I'd be way further down the field. So to pick up a pole position was I think my best qualifying on the pad was 4th. So the fact that I've started on the front row and poled and 2 podiums in this first season on the wheel is way above where I thought I'd be. So yeah, I mean, onwards and upwards. It's next season is going to be almost like a game changer for everyone. It clears the board, so we'll put a bit of practice in, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Okay, cool. And I'll just put one more question to all 3 drivers again, starting with Luke, as I normally do. As we had the delay last week, we've got Monaco next week. What are your thoughts on the circuit, and are you feeling confident about Monaco?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit confident. Still be practicing for it, obviously, for the Tuesday race. Didn't have a great Tuesday race, but yeah, I feel quite confident for it.
Very cool. Craig, your thoughts on Monaco and your chances there?
I'll just be looking to survive it. It's my worst track. Guarantee I'll put it in the wall somewhere. Whether I make it to the checkered flag or not is up for debate. But yeah, just looking to finish the season with a good final race.
So you're glad you got the job done tonight?
I needed to. I really the pressure was to try and tie it up tonight, because I knew that if it went to Monaco, I think the ball would have been looked caught a little bit more.
Well, I believe
just not a great circuit for me.
I believe that the constructors is still up in the air going into Monaco, so there's still points to fight for and places to fight for. So that would be good to watch. And then finally on to Gareth, your thoughts on Monaco and how you find the track?
It's a bit of a battle royale. So yeah, like Craig said, as the goal is to keep all 4 wheels on the car by the end of the race, and it's kind of anyone's game. We all know that qualifying is the most important bit, and really you can almost take a second off your lap time during the race and try and hold people behind and just take it a little bit easier. So yeah, I'll be focusing on quali pace, and then I don't know if it's a bit of it's one of those tracks where you never quite know lap to lap what's going to happen. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and looking forward to it.
Cool. Once again, well done to Luke on winning this race. Well done to Craig on becoming our new F3 champion, and well done to Gareth on another podium. So yeah, that's wrapped up my questions. I don't know if you've got anything to add, Harry?
No, of course, just massive congratulations, particularly to, of course, Craig and Luke, for just giving us such a fantastic championship battle, of course, for all the way through this season. Of course, well done to Craig as well for picking up, I think it's 7 podiums in 8 races from Craig. So I think that's if that's not title winning form, then I don't know really what is. And it's nice to see Gareth back up here, of course, 2nd podium of the season. Of course, had some really good pace in like sort of Hungary and Brazil. Just obviously just sort of bottled it really, a couple of those races. But no, well done to him, and of course well done to all 3 of you. And of course, if you're looking forward to Monaco, the last race of the season, of course Wednesdays 8 PM live here on YouTube, and of course in the meantime on the socials, Instagram at Invictus Racing League, Twitter at Invictus RL. You can find us on Facebook, and of course on our website you can find the Hall of Fame news, articles, photo albums, and of course interviews of all your favourite drivers. And of course, if you're looking to sign up for the upcoming game and next season, that's the place to go if you're interested in that. But in the meantime, I hope you have a very nice evening, hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you all very soon next week. Goodbye.